Welcome to the Coast to Coast podcast, brought to you by Play Picks and the Lines, coming to you from the West Coast. Josh Lander, joined as always by my guy Nate Weitzer on the East Coast, and we are looking at an East Coast matchup. Nate's Boston C's versus my Knickerbockers. We're going to jump into a bunch of the lines, a couple of the best bets we're looking at with this game on the second night of the NBA season. As always, though, if you do still need a FanDuel or DraftKings account, head to fdpicks.com or dkpicks.com. Find those listings in your area. Nate, let's jump into it.
Yeah, the Celtics are +2 right now in their opener. It opened at +1, and the total down a half point to 217.5. I know we picked this game because it's just fun for us to talk up each of our teams. But, I mean, predictably, I'm going with the Celtics because not thinking with my heart here as much as my head. The coaching change is just going to shake things up tremendously. Even though Al Horford isn't going to play in the opener, he's on the COVID list. His presence, I think, in that locker room is going to also change things entirely. Getting them back to their roots of just being a hard-nosed team that really needs that veteran presence. Jaylen Brown is expected to play, and that's a problem for the Knicks. I mean, he can defend Randall, he can defend Barrett. He's maybe one of the best low-post, new-age defenders in the game today. And on the other end, they won't have any answers for Jason Tatum. They haven't in any of their meetings. And I think Schroeder, a nice addition there. And the fact that Marcus Smart, Tatum, and Brown are all going to be out there together was pretty rare for the Celtics last year. All three of those guys out there, all hounding Kemba and Evan Fournier, their former teammates. I don't think it's going to be a revenge game for those guys. I think it's rather going to be a statement for the Celtics that, like, hey, we're back. We're a top 4 team, and I think we expect some regression from the Knicks this year.
Yeah, we do. And my initial thought when I, was starting to look at this game was definitely go with the C's, using my thinking for the win totals, in terms of one team regressing and one team progressing and getting better than they were last year. And that's the C's, especially because of the fact that obviously some injuries last season, specifically Brown, really hurt them and led to, I think, a lot of, them relying too much on Kemba, who's not your second banana anymore on any single team. I don't think he'll be expected to carry the load today. The thing is, I'm looking at this as a one-game sample. It's the first game of the season. I do think Madison Square Garden is going to be rocking for whatever that is worth. And then I think that there's a huge addition by subtraction on the Knicks as well. When I drilled down further into it, Elfrid Payton's gone. That's a huge stat, not just because of how bad he was all over the place, including plus minus, but also because that means more time for Derrick Rose to get, those minutes in the second quarter. And with that second unit, especially, which is a really, really good second unit right now, actually, in terms of him. You got Burks and Toppin that'll be playing in that lineup as well. And I think, last year, with the three of them, actually, when they were in the lineup against, second quarter, second lineups, they were plus 17.5 or so on the season. So, they definitely put together a pretty nice season for a second unit, which I think is going to be a lot better than the Celtics' second unit this year, which I don't see as deep as they need to be. And look, the Tom Thibodeau era is still thriving, in my opinion. I don't think that this is going to be he's going to change his ways, and I don't think he's run his players into the ground too much yet. We'll see how Taj Gibson holds up still as also an important second teamer. But an incredible stat for Tibbs is that straight up as the home favorite for his career, he's 189-66. When he's a home favorite, and that's straight up. So, and last year was 16-1 with the Knicks, incredibly impressive when they're home favorites. So I'm actually going to back them with a small spread, and I do think the C's might take a little bit more time to get going than we're giving them credit for.
Well, if they struggle, then I think you got to love the under, which has hit in 6 of the last 7 meetings between these teams. Some really low totals last year when you look at it, 180, 200, and 188 in their 3 meetings. Those are not NBA totals by any means. I think the Celtics defense and offense will take a step forward together. Josh Richardson is a big, you mentioned their second unit, big defensive addition, hasn't really found his offensive game the last couple of years. So I think maybe that's the most confident bet. I like the idea of getting plus money on the Celtics money line because there is such an unknown here with the new coach. And I like the idea of seeing, of live betting them. I think we could see the Knicks come out with some emotion, take an early lead. The Celtics, as they're wont to do, could come out strong in the third quarter. They finished fourth in second half points per game last year. Maybe that kind of comeback win gets you even better plus odds on the money line, or gets you a spread in the 4 or 5 point range, which I think they're absolutely going to cover. I don't think the Knicks are going to blow anybody out at home. They might pull out another blue-collar win under Tibbs, but I think this will be close.
Yeah, I think the under is the play here. As you mentioned, 6 of the last 7 with these two teams. And part of that reason is honestly, Tatum and Brown have not played well historically against the Knicks. To be honest with you, looking at their career numbers, Jaylen Brown averages less than 19 points a game against the Knicks. Tatum's right at about 19, but on the road, those points both decreased by a couple in New York. So it's not like we've really seen Tatum and Brown come in and dominate the Knicks. And I would consider a few props that I'm looking at that I actually kind of like here. 26.5 points for Tatum. I just told you how he plays in New York. I don't know that that's a bet that I would take. I would actually consider the under and get plus money. Under 27 points for Jay Tate would get you plus 110 on the money there. I would consider that. And then the guy who came to Boston last year and disappointed, Mr. Fournier, we saw him play really well, in international ball over the summer. And I think he is going to be someone who you'll see able to score more than 12 points for the Knicks, because we saw last year they don't have anybody who can really create their own shot. Once Randall gets, double teamed and you bring a second defender over to him, he can pass over the top, but, he's not exactly going to drive to the lane and take on 2 to 3 guys. Fournier is someone that can create his own shot, should have a little bit of space playing off of Randall and guys like RJ Barrett and D Rose. So I would take over 12 points for him. But anything else that you're seeing in this game? I know you like the C's. I'm going Knicks, even with those points, and I think we both like the under. Any players you're looking at in this one? Well,
I just have to say you're insane if you think Jason Tatum's likely to score under 26 points. His usage rate, it could be around 30% on this team. But I like the Fournier bet. He does tend to step up against better competition, and this is a situation where he's certainly going to be motivated to face the better competition, the better defenders on the Celtics, and prove that he can still get buckets. So I would definitely recommend that second prop and stay away from Tatum's points until we see how he plays under this new coach.
Fair, yeah. And I mean, part of my thinking is Jaylen Brown is going to come in and get some touches, right? But we are going to be looking at these two teams for the division all season long. And it feels a little bit open, doesn't it, right? In terms of, these head-to-head matches being important, just because, the Nets, I'm not saying that, their big-time loss to the Bucks is indicative of how they're going to be this season. I think the Bucks are really, really good. But I think that the division is a little bit more open than anybody's giving it, credit for. And we'll see how Philly does as well. But that is all the time we have talking Knicks and Celtics for today. We will be back with another video and another couple of games for you on this Wednesday slate. And until we see you next, happy betting.